Happy World Book Day, everyone. One of the themes for our week is being able to share a story, so I've decided I've got one of my favourites. I do love a picture book, and this is a great one, so I hope you enjoy it. You might know the story, but this is a little bit different. Jack and the Baked Beanstalk by Colin Stimpson. Jack lived and worked in an old burger van with his mum and his dog Bella. Their sign read fast food, which was funny because their van's engine had broken down a long time ago, and the van had stayed in the same place ever since, parked on the edge of a busy city. Jack and his mum really didn't mind. They were proud of their little cafe. They kept the place clean and served tasty food and always had lots and lots of happy customers. One winter, the city council decided they were going to build a huge flyover, a road so that people could get to work even faster. The old road where Jack's cafe stood was to be closed, and soon construction began. At first, things didn't seem very different. Jack and his mum were kept busy feeding the builders eggs and sausages, burgers and chips, and lots of cups of tea. When the flyover was finally complete, they were sad to wave goodbye to them. All day long, traffic sped overhead as people hurried in and out of the city on the new flyover. Now they had such a fast way to travel, no one ever stopped to visit the old burger van anymore. The new road had swept the customers away, and soon Jack and his mum were down to their last few pennies. Jack, go to the shop and buy some milk and coffee beans. Everybody likes a good cup of coffee, said his mum, trying to put on a brave face. On his way to the shops, Jack met an old man who asked him why he looked so sad. Jack explained about the flyover and his burger van. I think I can help you, said the old man thoughtfully. Forget the coffee beans. These are magic baked beans. I wouldn't normally sell them, but you seem like a boy who knows their true worth. Now Jack had read enough fairy stories to know you don't turn an offer down like that. Also, baked beans were his favourite food in the whole world, so he couldn't resist tasting some of the magic ones. Thanking the man, Jack exchanged his last pennies for the tin of baked beans and ran home. You did what? Shouted Jack's mum when Jack showed her the can of beans. But mum, they're magic beans. The old man promised, argued Jack, realising how silly he sounded. Furiously, his mum threw the can out of the window and sent Jack to bed straight away without any supper. Early the next morning, Jack woke up to find his room bathed in a curious green light. Strange branches twisted in through the window, and at the end of each shoot dangled a silver can of baked beans. It's a magic baked beanstalk, whispered Jack to Bella, his dog, trying not to wake up his mum. If I remember rightly, there should be heaps of treasure at the top. So after hurriedly eating a breakfast of beans on toast, the best beans Jack had ever tasted, he crept outside. Are you ready, Bella? Said Jack, grabbing hold of a long green tendril. Mum will be really worried when she notices we've gone, but if this really is a magic beanstalk, she'll forget all about being cross when we bring her back some treasure. Up between the leaves they climbed, high into the sky, when finally Jack reached the top, just above the clouds. The last branch wound its way to the steps of the biggest castle that Jack had ever. Squeezing under the front door, Jack found himself in an enormous room. Suddenly there was a bone-shaking clunk, then another and another, followed by the sound of someone singing. Fee, fi, fo, fummy, I'm always counting money. Be it silver or be it gold, it'll make me happy, or so I'm told. Sure enough, Jack could see towers of golden coins stacked high in front of an enormous table, and behind it an even more enormous giant. whispered Jack. I've forgotten about that bit of the story. But just as Jack and Bella turned to run away, the giant spotted them. A huge hand reached down and scooped Jack and Bella up high in the air before dropping them on his table. In front of them was the most enormous chicken that Jack had ever seen. "We have visitors," boomed the giant. "So I see," squawked the chicken. "And we know just what to do with visitors, don't we?" said the chicken. "Now you stay there." "I'll be back in a jiffy," said the giant. And with that the giant grabbed the handful of chicken eggs and marched off to his kitchen. Soon there was the clatter of pans and pots, and it was making the table tremble. "Is he going to eat us, chicken?" squeaked Jack with fear. "Don't be silly," cackled the chicken. "He wants to make you some lunch. He hasn't cooked for someone new in a long time." And as Jack watched, the giant switched on an enormous radio. Then his foot began tapping to the sound of music as he began to make the biggest omelette that Jack had ever seen. While wonderful smells wafted into the room, the chicken told Jack about life in the castle. "Every day, all day, the giant counts his money," she clucked. "He doesn't know what else to do with himself, and it's hard for the radio. She's a magic radio, you know, and she can only play at lunch times as the giant needs silence when he's counting." Just then the giant appeared. "Lunch is ready," he cried cheerfully. Over lunch, Jack told the giant about life at the bottom of the beanstalk, and the giant told Jack about his money. Jack thought having such treasure was fantastic, but the counting sounding, well, a bit boring. "I do get pretty lonely up here," confessed the giant. "Would you consider staying? You could help me count, and I could cook us tasty meals." "Sorry," said Jack. "I couldn't just leave my mum. I should be getting back." "Can I come with you?" sang a small voice, and Jack and the giant turned to the radio in surprise. "I want to play songs all day long, and I've always wanted to stretch my wings," clucked the chicken. The giant looked glum, but he agreed that his friends deserved a change after all their years in the castle. With a heavy heart, the giant walked them to the top of the beanstalk. "Are you sure you won't come with us?" asked Jack. "If this was the fairy tale, you'd be chasing us all the way down." "I'd love to," said the giant sadly, "but truth be told, I've always been a bit scared of heights, and it does look a long way down that beanstalk. I'd better stay here and count my gold." So Jack and Bella climbed onto the chicken's back, and clutching hold of the magic radio, they began the long journey down to the ground. "Goodbye, goodbye," hollered the giant, waving his spotted handkerchief. "Do come again soon." But as he leaned over the top of the beanstalk, trying to cast the last glimpse of his friends, there was a sudden crack. Snap went the beanstalk, and down, down, down fell the giant. Crash, bang, wallop, right on top of the new road. Cars skidded in all directions, but fortunately no one was hurt. "Are you all right?" asked Jack, who luckily had reached the ground just in time. "No," said the giant, as an enormous tear splashed onto the concrete below, then another. "Now the beanstalk's broken and I can't go home, and without my money to count, I've got nothing else to do. What will become of me?" "Isn't that bad?" said Jack thoughtfully. "At least you're with your friends, and if you tried doing something you enjoy, you might find it more interesting than counting money." And that is the story of how the Baked Bean Cafe became the most famous place that it is today. Much bigger than the old place in almost every way. If you're ever passing the Baked Bean Cafe, you can say hello to the giant chicken, or listen to the jumbo radio that plays fantastic music all day long. The baked beans and eggs are always free, and to top it all, they have a very, very famous cook. I wonder if you can guess who it is. The end. I hope you enjoyed that story, and the next time you sit down to a plate of baked beans, just think where they may have come from. Goodbye, everyone.